Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. I'm your host, Yohance Harrison. So happy to be with you here today. Happy Black History Month. Happy 1 year anniversary. Happy 1 year anniversary to all of our dozens of listeners who have been rocking with us for a full year. Happy anniversary to you. We did it. Our first day was, I believe it was Martin Luther King Day. So it's a little over our 1 year anniversary. I didn't forget. We've just been out here grinding. We've been busy. I've been trying to keep up with all the craziness that's been happening since we've got a new president. So that happened since the last time I talked to you guys. Let's see. So Biden was officially sworn in, and it is the final time. We can never say that we've never had a female vice president or black vice president, because we have, or black Indian vice president, because it's a bunch of nevers, or now nevers no more. So shout out to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the United States. Yeah, and we survived I say we survived, and moment of silence for those that did not. We survived an attempted coup or insurrection or all these other legal terms that are being thrown around. So yeah, that happened. So I'm sure everyone was around for that. We may have talked about it briefly, but as time has gone on since then, it's amazing. It's amazing. So let's talk about some of the good news in the financial world. First of all, student loans continue to be on a pause on interest payments and for payments. And that's for federal student loans. If you're eligible, that has been paused until September 30th. Also, the eviction and foreclosure moratorium has been extended until March 31st. So whether or not we will continue to have a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures is probably going to be subject to a new bill getting passed, which requires a stimulus bill, which is going to require a 2/3 majority in the Senate in order to pass. It could probably pass the House, it probably wouldn't get past the Senate without a 2/3 majority. And or 2/3 or 60, I believe it's 60 votes. Well, basically the Democrats don't have enough. Let's put it there. Now there is another way that they could get around that, which is known as the budget reconciliation process, which is a process that was developed back in the 70s that allows urgent things to get done. There's some things they can do, some things they can't when it comes to spending money and our debt and deficit and things of that nature. So they could get that done with a simple majority. So with a split Senate, which is currently 50-50, 50 Republican and 50 that vote Democrat. Well, there's Democrats and there's some independents, like Bernie. Bernie tends to vote with the Democrats. He's very much for the plan that Biden has, and then some, I believe, in Bernie's version. But Biden has introduced a $1.9 trillion, that's with a T, $trillion stimulus package, which includes $1,400 of additional payments to each American, and actually broadens the definition of who gets those checks. Because if you're over a certain income limit, you don't receive it, or you receive a reduced amount, or based if you have children. So all of that, they're trying to work all of that out. And the Republicans countered with a $600 billion bill. And Biden did manage to meet with 10 Republicans, I think it was. They sent a coalition to negotiate, and they met for a couple hours and did not reach a deal. So here we are. It's February 3rd now. Yeah. So it did. By the way, it's February 3rd, and I have to say that because it wasn't February 2nd again, though it does feel like it's been Groundhog Day for almost a year, y'all. Yeah, it's almost a year. Happy anniversary to COVID, kind of. It was starting to just bubble up in the news right now. I remember I was on my way to Super Bowl last year, and they were talking about this Chinese virus, and that's what it was still being called. Well, there's still some people that refer to it as that, but it was a Chinese virus back then. And I was actually in a hotel in Vegas that was celebrating Chinese New Year in the hotel. And so there was a very large Chinese population in my hotel last year for Super Bowl. And I was a little bit nervous. I mean, because those reports were coming out the weekend of Super Bowl, and that's when Wuhan went on lockdown, and so it was kind of surreal. It's crazy that we're coming up on a year on that. So anyways, back to, like I said, the great financial news is that you don't have to keep paying your student loans. Now, if you're someone that has your student loans have been paused, I really encourage you to do an assessment. What are you doing with that money? Where are you putting it? Are you paying down other more important debts like private student loans that usually have a higher interest rate? By the way, interest rates for student loan refinancing are at an all-time low. So I encourage you, look into your options for refinancing. Go to our website, moneyscriptwealth.com. We've got some information on there for students for refinancing. If you click on I believe it's on the clients tab, we've got some information there. Or just tweet us or DM us at the Money Script and on Twitter or Instagram, and be sure to get you the information. Because if you have an opportunity to refinance your student loans, do it. I don't know. And that, I mean, for the private ones. Now for the public ones, you're going to have to give that a little thought, because maybe it makes sense to refinance depending on what your balance is, depending if you're qualifying for certain programs. What is the administration going to do as far as student loan forgiveness? I don't know. I suspect that there will be some sort of program with some means testing, meaning just like with the checks that they're giving out, the stimulus checks, if you make over a certain amount. So I think they'll make it easier for student loan forgiveness. Whether or not they'll stroke the pen and make 10,000 disappear, or 25 or 50 or any other number you've heard thrown around, I don't think so. I really don't. But I think they will make a generous effort at attempting to make it easier for people to get their student loans forgiven. So speaking of budget reconciliation, think about your own budget. Where are you? We're in February. We've got past the holidays. A lot of people spent just as much money in 2020 on holidays or more than they did in the previous year, thanks to some stimulus checks for some. But I really encourage you to take a look at where you are on your budget. So I've got a throwback for you today. We're going to go back to, last summer. We're going to go back to last summer, where we had our FinLit courses, and yeah, that's it. It was a FinLit course. It was amazing. We had some great folks in the room, and we were talking about budgeting. We were talking about cash reserves, and anyways, it's great. This is one you want to make sure that you flag. Come back to it later, because I'm going to give you some really practical steps that you can take to help you get into a better financial situation. We had people in this course that continued out the course with us, and they were able to get a better budget. They were able to start building their cash reserves and have really turned their financial lives around. So shout out to them. So with no further ado, let's get into this episode, and now we'll see you guys next week.
So we wanted to create just some of the basic information. Like, these are things that you can start to build your foundation so that you can begin to make better financial decisions for yourself and for your family. So with that, we're going to dive in. Also want you to know yes, we're doing this as a courtesy to everyone. At the same time, if you're someone that needs one-on-one help, that's what we're here for. Okay. And we offer one-on-one consultations. They're completely complimentary. We can talk details in a private setting about your finances and see if we can help you. And if it makes sense to move forward, we will. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I know that you'll walk away learning more about how you can be smarter about your financial decisions. So financial planning, quite simply, begins with a very simple concept of putting your values of what's important to you, your goals, the things that you want to accomplish, and your financial decisions, your actions, in alignment. A lot of times I meet people that have great goals with things that they want to achieve, maybe even have some really solid grounded values, but their financial actions don't always match the values that they have and the goals that they have. So part of my role is to help get those things in alignment. And sometimes misalignment really just comes down to education. So with that, let's start having some fun here. There we go. So we're gonna keep it real simple. When it comes to your money, you wanna earn it. Everybody wants to earn money. You wanna grow your money. You wanna protect your money, and ultimately you wanna be able to transfer the wealth to someone else, okay? In this journey of financial literacy, it starts, like I said earlier, with understanding what are your values and starting to research your options. That's what got you all here today. You said, this looks like an interesting option, financial literacy. I want to be financial literate, not illiterate, financially literate. So here I am. So you're here to educate yourself. Now, again, some of the concepts we may discuss today may be new. So you're going to need to ask for help. If not from me, then from someone. You're going to have to go and get more information so that you can create your own plan and ultimately take action. It is through taking action that you're actually able to reach those goals. Okay. You can say, I want to buy a house in 5 years, but if you keep saying every year, I want to buy a house in 5 years never gets here. Now, if you say, I want to buy a house in 2025, that's a little bit different. That's a smarter plan that will naturally cause you to make different actions, that make different decisions in order to make that dream a reality for you. Okay. Now, we all have goals, and the goals are different for each one of us. Some people, like you said, want to buy homes. Some people want to be able to start a business. Maybe they want to take care of their kids. Maybe they want to improve their credit score. We all have different goals, but there is one goal that we are all ultimately trying to reach. And this is my personal, humble opinion, but I haven't met anyone that said no. We all want financial independence. We all want to create a point in time where we have enough sources of income or enough assets that we don't have to punch a clock for someone else. Okay. And in order to get there, the number one factor and number one contributor to you reaching financial independence is you. It's not what the government's going to do. It's not what the stock market's going to do. It's not what Bitcoin's going to do or any other investment you can think of. It's what are you going to do to help you get there? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So building a solid foundation, financial roots. And in building a financial plan, there's really 4 key areas that your financial decisions fall into. We're either dealing with your cash and liabilities, the money you have on a day-to-day basis, or people you owe money to, or entities you may owe money to, protecting your money, things like health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, car insurance, flight insurance in case, COVID-19. But protecting your money, protecting your investments, protecting the things that you've purchased, protecting your life. Then growing our money through fixed and equity assets. Either we're buying CDs, or we're putting our money in bank accounts, or we're buying stocks, we're investing in a 401k. All of that happens under that hood. And then finally, taxes and estate planning. Okay, you've probably heard the saying, or if you haven't, here's the first time you hear it today. There's 2 things you can guarantee in America: death and taxes. Okay, you will eventually die and you will pay taxes in some way, shape, or form. Now, we all don't have to pay more than our fair share. And understanding what your fair share is has a lot to do with understanding how the tax law works, which is a book that's this thick. So sometimes our situations get so complicated, we have to just ask for help and go to the CPA, go see the enrolled agent and say, I've got all these things going on. I don't understand this. I'm a pick on my sister. I'm a chef. I don't do taxes. You do taxes, please. Okay. So, and we'll dig into each one of these over our 3 courses. So let's dive into cash liabilities and debt management. Okay. If you had a credit card that had a $1,500 balance and it had an interest rate of 18%, and you were making the minimum payment on that credit card of $30, do you know that you would pay almost $1,300 in interest on that credit card, and it would take you 93 months to pay it off? Whereas if you had the same $1,500 credit card and you paid an extra $20 a month, so instead of paying $30, you paid $50. Okay, the total interest on that credit card that you would pay is $507, and it would take you 40 months to pay it off. Now, you're probably thinking what most people think. I'm like, wow, you save almost $800. No, you actually don't save $800 unless you take that money and actually save it. What you're doing is you're keeping some of your money. It's money that didn't have to go out the door. It got to stay in your bank account, and then maybe you save it. Some people spend it. We don't know what we're going to do with it yet, but this is about paying less in interest. Okay, so homework assignment coming out of this session today: do a financial inventory. Who do you owe money to? Okay, are you paying minimum payments, or are you paying more than the minimum payments? Okay, if you look at that statement, it will tell you, it's required by law. If you look at the statement, it will tell you how long it will take you to pay off that card, paying the minimum payment that you're paying. And some credit cards are even going above and beyond the rule and showing you, if you pay a little extra, how much less you can pay in interest. So do an inventory, whether it's student loans, even though if you have the student loans that are 0% right now, you know what the interest rates were before they went to 0%. Credit cards, automobile loans, homes, anybody you owe money to, do that inventory and find out where is your money actually going and how much interest are you actually paying. You'll probably be surprised, okay? Now, as far as cash management, I'm just gonna keep it really honest with everybody. Just keep it real, keep it 100, okay? Here's the truth. When it comes to having debt, you are only in debt for one of three reasons. That's it. It's only three ways you get debt. Either A, there was an emergency and you didn't have the cash and you said, I got to take care of this. The one I refer to a lot is having a flat tire or something like that, okay? And you still got to drive to work back in the days when we had to do that, you know? If your tire's flat and you got to drive to work and there's no money in the bank account, but you have a credit card, you're going to swipe that credit card to get the tire fixed. Why? Because you got to drive to work. Okay. Emergencies happen. If you don't have the capital cash to pay for your emergencies, but you have credit available, we will borrow. So emergencies is number one. Number two are things that were important that we didn't give enough attention and all of a sudden they became urgent. Guilty. I've done it. Okay. Our son graduated early from high school and decided to go to an out-of-state private school. We weren't prepared for that. What was I going to tell him? No, son, you can't go to that school. No, too bad that you decided to be, you know, an achiever, overachiever, graduate early and get into a private school with only a partial scholarship. Too bad. I'm not going to borrow the money because I don't have it. No, I didn't do that. What did I do? I filled out the Parent Plus loan, said, here, son, congratulations. Now you better keep a 3.5 if you want me to keep borrowing this money. I didn't say 3.5. Said 3.25. The point is that it was something that was important that we didn't pay enough attention to, and then all of a sudden it became urgent. And so I had to borrow. So that's debt that was created. And the last reason, and this is the one that really sometimes hurts, but it's the truth. We made a decision at some point, we made a decision to spend tomorrow's money today. In other words, we decided to live above our means, okay? And credit cards love it when we do that, okay? And they try to entice us to do it whenever they can. So one of the things that I like to teach people to do is pay yourself first. So I want you, this is not a poll, but this is something just to think about for those that are taking notes. Play along. Oop, hold on, go back, went too far. Play along with me here. Where's my, okay. That slide doesn't want to work today. The question is, I'll just ask it out loud. The question is, okay, if you had $100 emergency, where would the money come from? Emergency right now, need $100. Where's it coming from? Okay, write down your answer. Is it your checking account? Great, checking account. If you had a $200 emergency, where's the money coming from? Same checking account. Okay, keep writing that down. If it was a $500 emergency, where's the money coming from? If it was $1,000, if it was $2,000, what if it was a $3,000 emergency? Where does the money come from? Now, all of us, as we're making that list, the bigger the number gets, we have to start getting creative, okay? Maybe it's, we would have to swipe a credit card, or maybe it's you would have to borrow from a friend, or borrow from another family member, or borrow from a 401k, what have you. The thing is that we know how to find the resources when the emergency comes, but if we can get in the habit of paying ourselves first, putting money into your savings account first before you go and spend money on all of the other things, you're going to have a larger emergency reserve, because at some point, I don't even have to tell you everyone this, we're all living in America today, okay? It rained, poured, and flooded all across America for the past 4 months. We had people losing jobs, we had people having their wages cut, we had people having family members get sick, emergencies were happening everywhere. Okay, so having that emergency account makes it so that emergency doesn't totally destroy your financial situation. That's what we're aiming for. Okay, so also protect what you can't afford to lose. Did you know that your chances of using your homeowner's insurance is 1 in 20? Okay, your chances of having an auto collision claim is about 1 out of every 18 years. The chances of missing 90 days of work due to a disability is 1 in 4. Okay, we get insurance on our homes, we get insurance on our cars, but sometimes we forget to insure what makes it all possible, us. Okay, so to do for you, take an inventory. What are you insuring? Everything that's important to you. Do you have renter's insurance? Do you have automobile insurance? Do you have health insurance? Do you have disability insurance? Do you have life insurance? And it's okay if right now you write down that some of those answers are no. That's all right. there are options that you have. It can be a goal that you have, is to close that gap so that when something happens, it's not detrimental to your entire financial plan. Okay? When it comes to investing, and again, these are the things we're going to talk about in our next two sessions. So we're going to break those down a little bit deeper. So in our investing course, we're going to talk about time diversification, asset diversification, product diversification, and tax diversification. Okay? And when it comes to investing our money, the goal that we're trying to do is to make more money, because going back to understanding our debt and liabilities, okay, that's the power of interest. You can either pay it, so you pay interest, credit cards, lines of credit, personal loans, student loans, home loans, auto loans, or you can earn it. Earn interest on your savings and money market accounts, earn interest on your CDs, earn interest from your equities, earn interest from your funds, earn from your real estate. The list goes on and on and on. Okay, so what we, over time, to become financially independent, you want to do more earning than you're doing paying. You want to be the person getting paid. Okay, we will talk more in detail about the rule of 72. The rule of 72, if you've never heard it, write it down right now. You'll learn more about it. I'm going to give you the basics on it. The rule of 72 is a way to determine how long it will take for an asset to double or an expense to double based on the rate of return that it's increasing by. My favorite example to give you is me getting haircuts. When I was 12 years old, my haircut was $10. Today, my haircut is $35. My head is not 3 times bigger, okay? My barber is not 3 times faster. He doesn't give 3 times better haircuts, okay? But I'm paying 3 times more for the haircut. Why? Inflation is why. Inflation is the ever increasing cost of living. It's existed since money existed. It was one of the questions that we're going to get to here really shortly, of understanding what inflation will do to your purchasing power. The average inflation rate in the United States is about 3%. If you divide 72 by 3, it tells you every 24 years, prices will double. We've all heard our grandparents or somebody tell the story about, back in my day, a movie was a nickel. Okay? Movies aren't a nickel anymore. Actually, they kind of are. We won't get into that argument, but if you have a Netflix account, you're kind of paying a nickel for a movie. I know it's not the same, but anyways, more on that another time. Okay? And then almost last but not least, tax diversification, understanding that there's different type of accounts that you can put your money in as it relates to how it's going to be taxed. You have pre-tax accounts where the money is taxable when you take it out. You have taxable accounts where you're putting money in that you don't get a tax deduction for, so it's not pre-tax, but it's still taxable when you take it out. And then you have those wonderful things that are after-tax money, but it's tax-free when you take it out. And we'll talk about the different types of investments that are there so that you can take an inventory and figure out, okay, where is most of your money going? And should you learn more about some of these other opportunities? And then last but not least, estate planning. Estate planning is important if you've ever had a family dispute. Ever had a family dispute? If you're not raising your hand, you're lucky, I guess. Put it to you that way. Yeah, never had a family. Okay, never. All right, Cammie, you said you shook your head no. You've never had a family dispute? Okay, never. Not one. Okay, that's good. You're the one. You are the one. All the rest of us did. Okay? If you have children, if you have a blended family, if you have anyone in your family with special needs, if you have highly appreciated assets, if you have a high net worth, if you own a business, if you have intestate succession, okay, we'll go into that as well, or major life events, estate planning is important. Estate planning makes sure that the things that you have accumulated over your lifetime goes to the people that you want to have it. And our state governments, local governments, and federal governments keep their hands off your property and keep everyone else out of your business. So, quick inventory thing to jot down. Look at the assets that you own. Do you have a beneficiary listed? Is the beneficiary the individual that you want to have that money if something happened to you? Okay, this one's free. It doesn't cost any money to review your beneficiaries. And most of us have assets that can pass to heirs with just some signing of paper without having to sit down with the attorney and do a will, do a trust, or any of those things. Now, as you go further up the asset chain, and especially if you own assets in multiple states, or maybe you have property that you inherited from, a grandmother that's like in Maine, and you're like, oh, it's only $50,000. Yeah, but that's in another state. Something happens to your family could have to deal with doing probate in 2 states. Okay, so the more stuff you have, the more you probably need to sit down, take some time to do some estate planning. But something you can do between now and the next time we visit is do an inventory. Pull up your 401k, pull up your IRA, your bank accounts, all that stuff. Do you have a beneficiary listed? If you have life insurance, do you have a beneficiary listed? And is that person the person that you want to receive that? Okay. So with that, let's get to our poll. So if you haven't taken the poll, we still got a couple more minutes. I'll go ahead and drive through it. So the first question was, suppose you had $100 in a savings account and the interest rate was 2% per year. After 5 years, how much do you think you would have in the account if you let the money grow? We had 6 that chose $102, more than $102, and we had 2 that said, I don't know. The correct answer is you would have more than $102. If you're getting 2%, that's going back to the compound rule of 72, 2% a year. The first year you get $2, so you'd have $102. The next year you'd get 2% on the $102, so then you have $104.22 or something, and on and on and on over that 5-year period. So you'd probably have somewhere around $115 after 5 years. I haven't done the exact math on it, but that's probably pretty close. Okay, so that's something just to understand about compounding interest and how it works. For those of you that said, I don't know, maybe it's because you didn't see the 5 years there. That's okay. You know now that it will earn a lot more than 102. Going back to inflation, imagine that the interest rate in your savings account was 1% per year and inflation was 2% per year. After 1 year, how much would you be able to buy with the money in this account? For those of you, if you could change your answer, I bet you'd love to. Now that you've learned how inflation works, the answer is you would be able to buy less than what you could buy last year, because if the price of something is going up by 2%, but your account only earns 1, okay, you're not going to have enough to pay for that haircut. Okay, and this is why we want to make sure that the money that we have for the future is at least earning a rate of return that is greater than the inflation rate. Okay, and please tell me the statement is true. Buying a single company stock usually provides a safer return than a stock mutual fund. Good job, all of you that chose false. A mutual fund is a more diversified way to invest in the equity markets. If you own a mutual fund, you own, I don't know, depends on how many that fund has, but you could have 500 different funds or stocks inside that mutual fund. So in order for you to lose all of your money, all 500 companies got to go out of business. But if you only have your money in one company, like, I don't know, who went bankrupt recently? Chesapeake Energy. You could lose all your money. Maybe y'all remember Toys R Us or Enron or MCI WorldCom, or what'd you say, Aaron?
Chuck E. Cheese.
I still didn't hear him.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese just went bankrupt. That is true. I mean, but they got all those gold coins. They couldn't. The gold coins aren't worth anything. What about my tickets? My tickets? Can I go redeem my tickets at Chuck E. Cheese now? I should be able to get like the whole left side at this point since everything's been devalued. But anyway, so with that, like
right now is at a Chuck E. Cheese.
That's true. So with that, I'd like to open up to questions and thank all of you for your time, your attention, and enjoying learning about some financial literacy. So quick takeaways: have a values and goals conversation with yourself and partner or spouse. Okay, you can go online, and if you just Google values, you will come up with some list of values. Find the words that best describe your values. For instance, for us here at MoneyScript, our values are personal development, financial literacy, wealth, teamwork, leadership, and clients come first. So everything that we do, any decision we're making, like what we're doing today, that is part of our value of financial literacy. We want to be a provider of financial literacy so people can make better financial decisions. So take a financial inventory. We talked about looking at the debt that you have. We talked about what would you do in case of a financial emergency. And we talked about looking at your insurance policies, and finally looking at your beneficiaries. Okay. It's the second half of 2020. What are you going to do differently? Well, you already did something different. You spent half an hour with us today. So of course, sign up for the next 2 courses. If you did not see how to find those next 2 courses, of course, go to our email. And I think Saeed is going to share a little bit more with us here shortly on other ways that you can stay in touch with us. Or Alicia's going to. Just kidding. I was eavesdropping on a conversation and didn't hear the whole conversation. And that's how that happened.
Is that
Told you we keep it 100 over
here?
here. The rule of thumb that I encourage our clients to start with having at least 1 month of all your expenses in a savings account. So total what your expenses are on a monthly basis. Let's say you spend $4,000 a month, 15 on rent, on and on and on, and it's 4,000. Your first goal should be to have a month. Once you get that month, the next goal is to build 2 months. When you get to 2, build it up to 3. Most people keep between, well, not say most people, people that have some financial literacy, that are taking action to reach their goals, that are living in alignment, they typically have between 3 and 6 months of their expenses in a cash position. And that's just because of the certainty of uncertainty. People, you lose your job or income gets cut, whatever it is. Rent's still got to be paid. Food's still got to be put on the table. If you don't have the cash, but you have access to credit, you're going to use the credit. That's just how it works. So yeah, so ideally 3 to 6 months of your expenses, but start wherever you are today. Maybe you're starting from 0. Start with just having your rent and savings. It's a good start. Or your car note, whatever your most expensive bill is, find a way to put that in savings. Is having a personal disability insurance a good idea? Yes. Okay. It comes down to affordability. And there's different levels of disability insurance. There's a disability insurance where if you have an injury, it will pay you cash. They just write you checks and say, here, you're disabled. Now you have to be disabled. Your doctor has to say you can't work. And if you're disabled, they'll pay you out $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month until you're 65 years old. So that's the best of the best you can get. But it goes all the way down to getting insurance in a company like Aflac. So Aflac doesn't really do disability insurance. What they actually do is if there's an incident, so it's more of incident insurance. So for instance, I was playing basketball and I fell on my hand and I actually fractured my pinky. And I had what they call a poosh, falling on an outstretched hand. My x-ray was covered by Aflac because Aflac said, oh, if you ever have to get an x-ray, we'll pay you $150. Oh, cool. Well, my x-ray was a 140 and they gave me 150. Okay, so it helped offset that. So those Aflac policies, those type policies are the easiest to get. The other policies where they're paying cash are tougher to get. There's more stringent underwriting. So they're going to want to know if you've had other previous injuries. They could say, hey, like for instance, my elbow, I have a problem with my elbow. If I get a new disability policy, they'll probably say, we're going to cover your whole body except that elbow. How does one designate beneficiaries for assets? Through a will? Yes, that is one way, but it depends on your state, because some states, even if you have a will, you would still have to take your assets through probate. Probate means a case has to be open with the court. There's probate, even if there's a will. And that's where I was mentioning intestate. So some assets allow you to name a beneficiary. So for instance, your IRAs and 401ks through work, you can name a beneficiary, and those pass without going through a will or probate. Those are what we call contract beneficiaries. Okay, so on the contract, it says Alicia Harrison's the beneficiary. Let me know if you need her social security number and date of birth so you can put it on the form. But Alicia Harrison becomes the beneficiary. And when you die, all Alicia Harrison has to present to whoever had that asset, say it's Fidelity, is your death certificate. Okay, and then you're good to go. Okay, other assets like a car, you can't name a beneficiary on a car. So assets like a car typically do pass through a will. If you have like jewelry or artwork, you can't write on the jewelry, inscribe, this is for Alicia if something happens to me. So those things would typically pass through a will. And then when it comes to physical property, there are ways to title your property so that it does pass to the other owner without going through probate. But that gets into the very deep details. That's where we want to get an attorney on board to help us construct that in a proper way.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you again on July 18th Other than that, we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Money Script podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at The Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The Money Script nor Money Script Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.